Okay.
Okay, so I have 7 o'clock, and I'll call our regular select board meeting of Tuesday, May 24th to order. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes of our May 10th regular select board meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve them from Victor.
I'll second.
Second from Susan. And with that, are there any recommended changes to the minutes?
They were good. I thought they were great.
Okay. Hearing no changes. All in favor of the minutes as drafted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we have another set of minutes to approve, and that is our May 12th strategic planning retreat.
So moved.
Moved by Laura,
Second?
seconded by Donna. Are there any changes to those minutes?
The only thing I thought of that, I thought we had also said right at the end that there was a little thing about working and developing our relationship with the college was going to be one of our, there was going to be sort of an A, B, and C. And I just didn't see it. I saw that in the other work that we had done, but I didn't see it in this part. And maybe it was just me. So
I thought
No,
it said
we-
something.
It's in the detail part.
it's in the detail part, but I thought we were specifically going to put it in that we were going to take care of what we have to keep it safe and vital and communicate it clearly was A. B was the economic development as the key to long-term growth and sustainability, and C was whatever the wording is about the college. But I could be wrong. It doesn't bother me. It's the only thing I remember.
Sort of a
Pleasure-
continuing
pleasure of the
relationship,
board.
isn't it?
I could probably get the
We did talk
Remember
about it,
hearty
so if you want to
discussion
add it as something.
About it.
cultivating and expanding collaboration with college. We put it in the miscellaneous over here, so it just seemed to be one of the things that we were talking about that was important, so.
Okay.
Where are you in the notes, Susan?
She would put it as a
Oh.
bold leg, a bold
A boldface
3, I
heading?
believe, is what she's proposing.
Mm-hmm.
I have no objection to that. I mean, it's in the specifics, but if you want to add it there, I think it's fine.
Mhm.
It's an ongoing concern, so I
Yep.
have no problem with it.
Yeah. I mean, I
Okay.
think we were all sort of talking about it several times as if that was an important factor for us to keep going, so.
Are there any other changes? I'm hearing a consensus that to add that as our third priority for 2016, with certainly our plan of work and the more developed detail below on each, with some goals. So if we add that, is there any other changes? Then all in favor with the amendment that Susan proposed signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Okay. So, next is approval of the agenda. I don't believe there are any additions at this time. Is there anything anybody would like to add
So
or
moved.
change? Okay.
I'll move
Move
adoption.
to approve by Victor,
I'll second.
seconded by Susan. All in favor of the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Citizen comments. This is an opportunity for anyone who's here for items not covered by the agenda to come forward if you would like to. So, not seeing that. So the first item officially to undertake is the liquor license applications of Otter Creek Brewing Company for an outside consumption permit and Ovation Entertainment doing businesses above par at Kirk Alumni Center at Middlebury College for a first-class license and outside consumption permit. Kathleen, you want to go through the?
Kevin Brown is here for Otter Creek
Oh, okay.
Brewing.
Perfect.
Here, Hi, I'm Kevin Brown with Lang Roxbury and Will, attorney for Otter Creek Brewing. And this is Michaela Shea, who's marketing director for Otter Creek. I may have just promoted her.
Yes, marketing manager, but
Well, it sounded a lot better.
one day.
So we have, since 2010, we have an existing restaurant pub out at the brewery for tours and people to just come in tour buses or just for lunch. And that the idea has been to provide an outdoor consumption patio to be used in conjunction with the restaurant pub. We already have from the zoning administrator approval as an administrative amendment to the existing conditional use permit. There's no expansion in capacity. The existing permit has a 96-person capacity. The seating right now is 48 seats. I thought it was 50, but it's 48. The proposal here is for an outdoor patio, so no building, just pavers, 4 tables, 6 tables, 24 chairs with 4 extra chairs in reserve. So even with 28 chairs maximum, we're still well under the 96 that the existing conditional use permit allows. If you're familiar with the brewery, as you head for the front door, you pretty much come into the restaurant pub, so roughly to the left as you go through the front door. The patio would be to the right of the sidewalk just before the front door. At some point, it may have a doorway to the patio connected to the building, but for the initial layout, there'll just be a sidewalk right off the front entrance to the patio, controlled access all the time by a trained Otter Creek staffer who's trained to serve and control liquor. The setup would be a 20 by 30 patio with decorative planter boxes arranged to establish the perimeter with tables and chairs with umbrellas. So the permit allows us to run it from sometime in May to sometime through foliage, or it's obviously seasonal because it's an outdoor venue. So there's an existing Class 1 liquor license. So to have, as you know, have outside consumption, you need this add-on permit. So.
Questions of the board?
No, that seems pretty
Nope.
clear. Are you getting more tour groups?
We are, yeah, and we're pushing for that, especially with the Middlebury Tasting Trail. So we just, we want to see more guests on Exchange Street and hoping to use our space that we have for outdoor seating and.
And maybe, as a lunch venue, if there's more people working out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about catering to bike groups that might be using?
Oh, yeah, we do, yeah.
Do
We
you
love
have-
the bike groups.
Yeah. Do you have bike racks out there?
We do, we have 2. 2, and they fit about 16 bikes per rack.
So one thing on the application, I noted using the existing pub hours, restaurant pub hours from 11 to 6. There aren't any hourly limitations in the existing conditional use permit, but we're thinking we would like to run it till 7 o'clock. That would help the business. 6 is a little bit early for some people who, if they want to stop in after work. So I'd like to amend. I don't know that we have hourly issues in the permit itself, but you'll see on the application I prepared, it says 11 to 6. We'd want that to be 11 to 7 p.m.
Yeah, right now we're getting people getting out of work at 5:30, and they come in and they're just feeling rushed. So we just want to put an end to that and let them enjoy their food and drink.
Can we do that tonight? Is that,
See why not?
okay.
You may want to come in and initial the application tomorrow, a paper copy of the
Okay.
application tomorrow.
All right, that'd be great. And from there, I've already been I've reached out to Mike Davison, who's the local Addison County Department of Liquor rep, so they'll have to sign off as well. Once we have yours in place, then Mike will come out, and there's nothing to actually inspect yet because there's nothing on, it's just lawn, and it's just going to be pavers with planter boxes, so there won't be any issue for the fire department either because people will already be outside, so they'll be able to step between the planter boxes or right out through the sidewalk entrance. So I don't know if the fire chief will have to sign off as well, but on the approved plan, there's no structure, there's no ingress and egress issue.
Pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion that we approve the outside consumption permit for Otter Creek Brewing Company for its existing restaurant on Exchange Street.
Do we have to note that once Chief Hanley had noted that because everything is just in the planning stages, that once it's finalized, the site must comply with Department of Liquor Control regulations? So maybe we should say under
Pending those approvals.
pending that approval, that the site is,
Yeah.
finalized, that as the site is finalized, it complies with DLC regulations.
Yeah, I mean, there is no outside consumption permit to use until Montpelier signs off.
Yeah. Is that okay to
I'm
modify?
okay with
I would
Susan's
second that,
amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
both of them.
So moved by Heather, seconded by Victor. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor of approving the outside consumption permit, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Looking forward to having lunch out there.
Okay,
All right.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it.
Do we have to do Kirk alumni too?
We do.
Okay.
We're doing something with the-
I didn't know if they had a representative here.
So I should come by tomorrow?
Oh,
Oh, I thought it was the same thing.
yes, so.
Hi there.
How are you?
Very good. So if you could state your name and walk us through your application?
Tori Blake, owner of Ovation Entertainment, and Brittany is the bar manager here also for the college bar. Shouldn't say college bar, country club bar if you want to call it that. So we're taking over what they used to have as more of a cafeteria style. I don't know if anyone's been in there or not, but it was a walk-up window, limited seating, outdoor tables and indoor tables. Nothing really changes there too much, except now we have a full bar inside. So you order from a waitress or a bartender, and food is served to you, and it's not a cafeteria style food. So some differences there. The biggest change I think we're asking for is the outside consumption. Before was planter boxes and a white fence that went around underneath the deck, or slightly outside the deck. And we have been in contact with DLC and Mike Davison, and actually his boss was involved with that, along with the college, to license the entire golf course. So we could have a beer cart that went out, so that we can hopefully get some tournaments back into the golf course, because they're losing ground to all the other golf courses that provide a beer cart, beverage cart. So I think that's the biggest change.
I believe I submitted a map too, and it was highlighted.
right there.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, so the only thing that would exclude is the second floor of the Alumni Center. That's going to be a catered event hall still for the alumni, and they can still bring in someone else. But the grounds surrounding that property are all highlighted there.
The driving range, parking lots that are associated with the golf course themselves. The football field and the football stadium is off limits.
Right.
As you can see, the line is
It's all
very
excluded.
distinct. Right, just a golf course only and the 18 holes.
Questions?
So how do you control something like that? I mean, obviously other golf courses are doing it and it's
Yes.
successful, and I guess I'm just curious more anything.
One is obviously we have someone out there all the time in the golf cart patrolling, which would be done from the beverage cart itself. And it's not, I say beer cart, it's a beverage cart. It has water and iced tea and sodas and everything else on it also, along with some golf balls and some other stuff like that I usually run out of when I'm out there. Yeah, so we are self-patrolled that way. There's also maintenance that's out there all the time, which we're working in conjunction with their, college campus maintenance guys that are always mowing and fixing. And then there's obviously Brittany is the manager there. She's going to be stepping out and taking carts around also, along with myself. And if the kitchen's slow for a second, I'm sure
The chef.
the chef would love to get outside. It's beautiful out there on that golf course. So
We are
just to
going
get
to
out for a
have
minute.
signs up as well before you enter the first line of parking lot. After you come around that bend, there will be several signs that say no outside alcohol or beverages are allowed on the property. If they are, they will be confiscated, or they'd have to go back and be locked in their vehicles. Because that is, I'm sure you all are very well aware, is very illegal for you to bring your own alcohol, especially if it's a licensed property.
Any other questions? Pleasure of the board?
Okay.
I'd move to approve the outside consumption permit for Ovation Entertainment Incorporated, doing business as above par, for a full-service restaurant to be operated in the lower level Kirk Alumni House.
Okay.
I'll second.
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Continue with. There's a
And an outside consumption permit?
outside consumption
Did you
permit for
include that?
Ovation Entertainment also, Susan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That,
So I reversed that. I just did the second one then.
You did the second one, okay.
So, sorry about that.
It's all right.
Should we go through to the?
Just do
Just
them in
go to the
reverse.
first
That's
Yeah.
fine.
I'll move to approve a new first-class liquor license application for Ovation Entertainment, doing business as above par, for a full-service restaurant to be operated in the lower level Kirk Alumni House, pending successful completion of fire and police inspections, which I think they have.
Yeah, we did that
Mr.
yesterday.
Or Chief Hanley, excuse me, was there yesterday with us.
So I can take off the pending.
And actually, Department of Health was also there yesterday, so.
And I gave them when I stopped.
Second
yesterday.
that.
There we go.
Okay, moved by Susan, seconded by Victor.
It's just the way
All in
today's going.
favor of the first-class liquor license application approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Welcome to the
Thank you so much.
community.
Thank you. I'm
Quick question.
excited.
Are you already operating the restaurant in there now?
Yes, on the lower level where if you.
Oh, I love the snack shack. Come on, I used to.
Okay, yes, so
Hours.
they're going to be from 11, so probably Monday through Thursday, or Sunday through Thursday is going to be like 11 to 7, and then Fridays and Saturdays, we're going to be open until 9. And then if there's tournaments, we'll be open a little bit longer, because there are
Yes.
tournaments going on, so.
If it's
gotta
slow,
feed everybody.
last night would probably be open, limited hours. It started to rain and
Oh, it
it was pretty slow.
downpoured.
But, we'll definitely fluctuate with the people, I'm sure. But if it's beautiful outside and there's still people playing or
People
coming in for dinner, then.
Yeah, we're going to stay. We don't want to turn away food to
Yeah, good luck.
customers.
Excited. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we need to make the annual appointments of Middlebury's delegate and alternate to the Addison County Regional Planning Commission's Transportation Advisory Committee. Brian Bauer currently serves as Middlebury's delegate to the Transportation Advisory Committee, and with Town Manager Kathleen Ramsey as our alternate. And Brian has indicated an interest in continuing in his role as a delegate. Kathleen and our Director of Planning and Zoning, Jennifer Murray, have expressed an interest in sharing the role of alternate, along the lines of us trying to lighten workloads and spread some of the work. Glad to hear that. So, the Transportation Advisory Committee is not established under Middlebury's charter and appointments, therefore, it's not subject to 24 VSA Section 127-308, which means the board may both nominate and appoint our representatives at this meeting.
I'll move to nominate Brian Bauer as Middlebury's delegate to the TAC, and Kathleen and Jennifer as the co-alternates.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any comments on that? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Go ahead.
Do you want to move to appoint?
Okay,
Again.
yep, I'll appoint Brian as the
No,
delegate.
move
Move to appoint Brian as the delegate to the TAC and Kathleen and Jennifer as the co-alternates.
Second.
Moved and seconded to appoint Brian Bauer as Middlebury's delegate to the TAC and Kathleen and Jennifer as our co-alternates. Any comments?
The only comment is I don't often hear reports from the TAC. You know, they don't trickle necessarily here. It'd be good to get a
I
little
could have the
update.
minutes put in your packet.
Okay.
We tend to hear more of them in infrastructure because, like, they approve the grant that we have for Creek Road and things like that, but,
In that context.
yeah, so, yeah, maybe we can do a better job sharing.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Elise, are you here? Yep. Oh, there you go. Welcome.
Hi.
So Elise is our Executive Director of Addison County Community Trusts, and we have a public hearing on the closeout of North Pleasant Street Housing Rehabilitation Project in the Vermont Community Development Program grant.
Yep.
So, I guess we're here to take comments from any interested parties.
Well, is there anything you were about to say?
I mean, I can just give folks a little update
Why don't you
on,
give us an update?
How things
Since
went.
nobody else showed up on it, so.
sure. So this was a $6.3 million redevelopment of John Graham Court, formerly North Pleasant Street Housing 1, now North Pleasant Street Housing 2. It involved the demolition of non-historic buildings, the old L block, and preservation of 4 historic buildings on the site. The project began in 2013 under the former executive director of ACCT, Terry McKnight, who then passed away quite suddenly at the end of 2014. I came on board at the beginning of 2015. Units that we were just finishing up with phase 1 of the project, which was the new construction of the new townhome style units, were on the site of the old L block. And those began leasing up in January and February of 2015, and then the historic units, that was phase 2, that was completed in October. We did a ribbon cutting. We renamed the development Pete Co Village Apartments after Peter Co, a former resident of Shoreham, who also passed away quite tragically in 2009. He was a former property manager for ACCT. My history with ACCT, by the way, I'm a Middlebury College graduate of 2007, and then I worked for ACCT from 2007 to 2010, and then just came back in 2015 to take over from Terry. So there were 22 units on the site. There are still 22 units on the site serving 51 people. So including several formerly homeless households. The units are income restricted to 50%, 60%, and then 180% of area median income units, and that sort of translates to an average household income of about $21,000 and a median household income of about $18,000. And then 5 units over there have Section 8 project-based subsidies as well. So I think probably there are some families who are earning even less than 30% of AMI or under $10,000 a year. So really offering deep subsidy to the community. I already talked about some of the redevelopment highlights, the rehab of the 4 historic buildings, a new mechanical room with a pellet boiler, so there were a lot of efficiency upgrades made, improvements to the site layout, including the parking layout. Reading the narrative for the project, it actually indicates that we managed to somehow increase green space and the number of parking spaces. So that was a pretty impressive feat. And there's also a community room and an on-site property management office. And right now, the community room is hosting rent right classes run by CVOEO, and also the Dream Mentoring Program with mentors from Middlebury College. So as I mentioned, it was a total redevelopment cost of about $6.3 million, $3.7 million of which was the final construction cost. The town of Middlebury contributed $22,000 through a revolving loan fund separate from VCDP at 0% and will be paid back over the course of 240 months. Then the larger grant, which is the purpose of this, my attendance at this meeting and this hearing, is a $450,000 community development block grant through the Vermont Community Development Program. And this is soft debt, so it actually converts to a grant at the end of the term. In addition to that funding, that the project was able to leverage several different kinds of tax credits, low-income housing tax credits, rehab tax credits, and the Vermont Affordable Housing Tax Credit, some VHCB funding, and some Efficiency Vermont funding that went into the redevelopment, and also through the acquisition. The project assumed existing funding sources, including another VCDP grant, a home loan, a HUD loan, and more VHCB money. So the project was sort of completed according to the budget. The $450,000 was completely expended, and now to formally close out the grant, we just submit the minutes of this meeting to VCDP.
And then this would close out the grant.
Mm-hmm.
So a successful project.
Yes, we think so. It is pretty staggering, I will say, at a cost of $287,000 per unit. It's very expensive and difficult to get affordable housing built.
Yeah.
But we did it, and like I said, 51 people over there with, safe, healthy, affordable housing. So.
Yeah, so it is a wonderful construction story, and it definitely is taking care of an important sector of our community. And one of the concerns that was expressed along with the project's construction was ongoing maintenance, or availability of maintenance for the residents. And it'd be good if you could speak to how that is going. I did hear from one member.
I received your comment, and I actually already ran it down with our maintenance staff, and this particular person.
So the rest of the board doesn't know the context of this comment, so just to inform the rest of the board. So I just checked in with a neighbor of North Pleasant Street to let them know that this hearing was happening, and they shared that they had responded because the on-site manager wasn't there at that time and works at the hospital, and sometimes it's hard to reach. So that was the gist of it. So I just wanted to hear, I mean, that might have been just a one incident, so
Absolutely. No, it kind of illustrates sort of several things about the property that are good clarification. So we do have a resident manager there. She she's not an employee of ACCT. She's really there to help out when she's there, but she's not necessarily the primary point of maintenance contact, though of course she can help if she does happen to be there and something comes up. We do have an emergency maintenance line, which is disseminated with the tenant handbook. It's on our website, but it appears that, it's good to know that people don't necessarily know who to call, so we can, get that number out a little bit better. And this particular person did call our office. She didn't call the maintenance line, and it was out of after hours, so it went into somebody's voicemail. But she did get back to her the next day. So the on-site manager is really there, as a point of contact, but definitely not for emergency maintenance. Smoke detectors are, we actually just revised our on-call policy in terms of what gets taken care of that night, if it's after hours, and what gets taken care of the next business day. And smoke detectors are definitely, the maintenance person goes immediately. That's not something we push to the next business day. So if it falls through the cracks in incoming calls, that's one issue. But assuming we do get the call, if it comes in on the emergency maintenance line, that's something that should and usually gets taken care of right away by the maintenance staff. I just noticed, sort of like looking up on our website after I heard that you do have to click through several buttons to get to the maintenance line, so just putting maintenance emergency phone number right on the homepage is probably something we can and should do pretty easily.
So the maintenance manager doesn't have to be on site the whole time?
No, there isn't there isn't a full-time on-site staff person of ACCT. There is a property management office on site. We can't staff it full-time. We are going to do some open office hours and get those going more regularly. We had a vacancy in our maintenance director position. Our new maintenance director just started today, so we're very excited about that. So we do staff that office, but not on a full-time basis yet, and we're not even quite in terms of getting it regular. I use that office myself sometimes. The property manager uses that office, but there isn't a full-time ACCT staff person. The resident manager is more of an informal contact, our eyes and ears on the ground to sort of understand what's going on and that sort of thing.
But in the case of an emergency like a smoke detector, one can get immediate attention.
Yes.
So it's a matter really of making
Knowing
sure.
the phone number.
I know sometimes you call a phone number and you press this for that and so on and so forth. But I would hope that it would be as convenient as possible. I mean, if there is there shouldn't be a possibility of a glitch when someone has something like that to deal with, I would think.
It's a little bit of a trade-off because it is a dedicated line, so that you don't get into our automated menu of press this for this person, but that means it's also not our regular phone number, so somebody has to have the second phone number. Although, if you do get our if you call 877-2626, which is our main office number, the first thing you hear is, like, thank you for calling ACCT. If you are having a maintenance emergency, please press 1. So we do try and make it easy. This particular person, because our staff did run it down as soon as she got the voicemail, according to her cell phone was broken, so she didn't have the number handy to call. So it was just like a series of things that, again, we looked at actually within the last hour just to see, okay, where was our process failure here? And identified a couple things that we can probably do better, like putting the number more prominently on our website, scheduling that open hours session in the community room so that we can meet directly with tenants and just go through the tenant handbook in a little bit more. Everybody gets a tenant handbook when they lease up, and we do go through the handbook in detail at the time that they lease up, but everybody needs a refresher. I don't know that I know how to turn off the smoke detectors in my own house. I don't have a landlord, so we're definitely, there are a couple things that we're going to do.
And what about in the evenings? Is the person on site in the evening?
So that's the resident manager, and in this case, the resident manager happens to work is an emergency responder, so that's why she doesn't have, we can't guarantee that she's on the property between, 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. It's just kind of the nature of
emergency response.
Right. So there isn't set hours when ACCT guarantees that some kind of management presence is on site.
But it's pretty handy to have somebody that has emergency management training.
Yeah, usually it works out, except when it doesn't, apparently. So one of our maintenance techs, the one who serves for Gens, is actually also emergency responder for Virgens.
Okay, well, thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, I'm happy if anybody has follow-up questions, wants to have a phone call or wants to sit down and have coffee, more than happy to. Or shoot me an email. Contact info is on the website, though you do have to go through a few clicks to find it.
Yeah, I guess just because people have a different tolerance for noise and activity, I just wonder how we negotiate that so that it's always hard. We have it in other areas of town as well.
I just moved from the Old North End to Burlington, so I feel that pain for sure. It's a tough one. It's something that, I'd probably refer you to our property management staff for best practices on mitigating noise issues between tenants and noise complaints. In a place that has a noise ordinance, the first advice is, you can call the police or whoever the noise ordinance line is. for us, sort of the first step is a letter along the lines of, because also it's usually a he said, she said thing, which is one area where the resident manager can come in handy too, because they can sort of provide a neutral third party to, you know, verify that yes, there was a noisy party or conversation or something happening. But we've heard that this happened. If it did happen, it is a lease violation and could constitute, you know, grounds up to and including eviction, be grounds for, you know, further action up to including eviction, that kind of language. And then we kind of go from there. The basic landlord toolbox is eviction, which is a pretty, you know, blunt object for dealing with things like noise complaints. So then, you know, we obviously try and, but everything in between kind of doing nothing and eviction is kind of an art more than a science, and getting right people in property management roles who can, people in those roles who can help mediate those kinds of things and work with people on their behavior. That said, I did mention, you know, a few details about the demographics of the folks that we're serving. Pretty low income, also a few formerly homeless households. We don't provide services. We're really bricks and mortar people. We're the providers of affordable housing. We would like to be more robust in property management. Unfortunately, financially right now, we're kind of operating on a really lean staff, so we rely on partnerships with service providers where there is somebody who has a more serious behavioral issue to come in and provide that assist for behavior modification. 51 Seymour Street was a really good example of that, and ultimately we actually just had to shut down that building. So that it's a very challenging part of the business, for sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions, comments?
Thank you. You did a nice
So,
explanation of everything.
Very good.
I think you handled it very well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the community, Elise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm over in East Middlebury. You've been
Yeah.
to my house, actually. I think. So, all right.
So at this point, I guess I would close our public hearing. And Kathleen, do we have to take any action on this, or?
I don't think so, Elise.
The only thing we need are the minutes reflecting that we had the public hearing.
Okay,
You all set?
we'll get those for you. Thank you, Elise.
to close the hearing or not?
No.
No.
No. Great.
Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda, I believe you must be Don with the door.
I am.
Okay, Don, I'll invite you forward.
This is my daughter Abigail,
Hi, Abigail.
who often comes with me, Middlebury, most generally, if she's available. This is an example of what I'd like to exhibit. This is my most recent door, and as you can see, people, maybe it doesn't mean anything to you, but there's a lot of work into this, and people realize that this is incredibly hard work to do. And to make a door this solid out of all these pieces takes an incredible knowledge of joinery, and people love to see these. And I'm applying for a public assemblage permit. And why I'd like that is because I created these at the Basin Harbor Club, and they grace the grounds of their cottages. All of it are in their cottages, all different types. And this is something that I created right here in Addison County, right out at the lake. And nobody in the country did this before me. And I did this as the genuine article of what a folk artist is. I was an untrained, uneducated, which I still am uneducated, but I developed this, and it's something that I want to be known for someday, and I'm willing to sit over there on the street, on the sidewalk, which is 16 feet wide where I am. Beyond the 16 feet is 6 feet of grass. And then you have, like over here, right there, where I'm looking at right now, that sidewalk right there can't be more than, I'd give it 4, 6, 5 feet wide at the most. And then there's less than probably 5 foot of grass right there. So even with the space that the most I've ever taken up, it leaves 6 full feet of sidewalk and then the 6 feet of grass, making it more just as safe as this right here. And I've never had any problem with pedestrians coming by, and so many people have taken pleasure in this. And I just want to say that Kathleen and the Dow woman, Beth Dow,
Yeah.
made it very clear that no sales can take place on these streets. I understand that. I'm good with that. And actually, that's a great thing, because that limits for you guys how many people are willing to sit out there on the street and not sell anything. You're going to get real, true artists. You might want somebody who wants to sit out there and sells like hot dogs or something constant, or trinkets or something like that. Well, this excludes that. I am simply showing my work and raising awareness that I have created this right here. And if you can't allow an artist to exhibit his work, what the heck can you allow out there? Art is the same as music. I think I was, if I understand right in the denial, it was because I could sell it elsewhere. What could you possibly exhibit that couldn't be sold elsewhere? I don't think it's physically possible. I mean, if somebody had their prize pig that they were going to exhibit in a cage, it could be sold elsewhere. Some guy could come along and say, well, I'd like that for my farm. And what are you supposed to do? Now, myself, somebody comes along and says they want to buy one of the doors, I'm going to say, that's not what I'm here for today. You can do that elsewhere, but here I'm exhibiting my doors, letting you know that this artist exists. I created these, and you're welcome to look them over, and you're welcome to pursue me as an artist. But like I say, you're not going to get, just think about this. If you did one day a month where you allowed somebody such as myself, let's say another artist wanted to come in and show her paintings, but she wasn't able to sell them, so that really limits the amount of people who are willing to invest their time for nothing. I don't mind it. It's what I do. But invest their time for nothing to raise awareness about themselves. If you had this street lined with people showing off their great artwork, remember, it isn't just going to be anybody doing it because they're doing it for nothing. If you had this lined, can you imagine the crowd of people who would come in here once a month to see these people's artwork? And I'm disappointed the people at Arts Walk didn't continue with it. And from what I understand, it just was a matter of the people at the people just didn't have the energy at the, they ran out of energy at there's a department here, Commerce or something, and they just didn't have the energy to fill out the permit anymore. And like I say, I've got something to share. If there's other artists willing to do it, I don't see, if I encourage more artists to be on that street, one day you guys can limit that. You have the power to limit that in the paperwork. But it does say, well, I'll just cut to the chase. Public assemblage means basically any march, ceremony, show, exhibition, pageant, and I'll go on in it that is a nuisance. It's in the way of the public good. And I would be doing that, but I would be allowing all kinds of room for people to get by, plenty of room for people to enjoy my work, and I would safely display all my stuff. And I have my insurance right here, which is full liability, And I called my insurance company and I said, will this cover this? And they wrote your name, Town of Middlebury, right on here. And so I'm insured. You can look that over, and there you go.
Okay, let me see if we have questions here. Victor?
You know, I mean, I've walked by several times when you had a display. And you must have had a permit then. What?
I did. I didn't. No.
It was part of Arts Walk.
It was Arts Walk.
It was Arts Walk had the permit, so
And
you were there. I just want to clarify that you were there under permit with that Arts Walk had acquired. Is that right? For their regular
Monthly event.
and what you're asking now is a permit just to do this individually for yourself. I mean, in other words, I don't have any problem with the fact that I mean, I think the thought that, well, I mean, I don't. Most artists, I think, want to sell their art. I mean, after all, I mean, whether you paint or create music, or I think folk art like yours, which. So I don't see a problem there. Although I say, all right, this is only for display, not for sale. But the fact that you might sell it doesn't really cut anything. I would agree with you on that. But well, I just wanted to clarify that you did have a permit that was acquired by Artswork that allowed you to display. One of the questions, I guess, was raised that I suppose the Chamber of Commerce arranged the Arts Walk. Why could a group of artists do this?
Don't have the ambition?
Well, I'm asking because the fact that I take it that one of the objections was the fact that you were making a single application, and that Arts Walk was, of course, doing it for a group. And is this something that you've considered?
Says right here in the things that a person, corporation, partnership, unincorporated association, or any other legal entity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's...
But you're a legal entity, you're saying?
I am.
Yeah. I would,
so it doesn't matter whether I'm this or I'm IBM.
Yeah, okay, all right.
But and I copied, Kathleen was nice enough to send me their permit. Mm-hmm. So knowing a little bit, I copied theirs. So if you turned on mine, why did you accept theirs and allow me to do the same thing? Now, I will grant you, the last 2 years that I've been out here, nobody told me I couldn't sell anything. Matter of fact, I had no clue. Nobody ever said a word. Matter of fact, I was told I could, in my understanding, and that it wasn't until this year that I learned that I couldn't. And so I'm willing to change that. Like I say, if you raise awareness of yourself as an artist, that's what an exhibition is for. If down the road somebody says, oh, that Don Gould guy, did you see those doors he makes? And they want to buy one, well, that's my good fortune for having the ambition to be here on a Friday night, letting people know that I exist. And like I say, if people want to make opportunity for themselves, let them line the street. Think of what you'd have here in Middlebury. Think it'd be a bad thing to have artists down through here? Why you'd have people down here looking at their stuff and going in the businesses?
Let me see if there's any other questions.
What? I mean, I see several problems, to be honest with you. I love the door, by the way. It's beautiful. I mean, if it's a piece of artwork, it can be displayed as a piece of artwork, probably in different places. You could appeal to some of the galleries as a piece of woodwork, that's art. Maybe they would display it. I see the farmer's market that was mentioned. I see other locations. It's possible. I think that it's naive on our part to think, though, that you would display them and that it wouldn't generate sales. If it generates sales, none of the merchants in this town are allowed to do, they have to get a permit just as a group and for sidewalk sales, and that's limited to 3 times a year. We don't have street vendors, we never have. We don't have food trucks, we don't have street vendors, we don't have any of that. Whether that's something that we would think about as a group over a period of time or an ordinance or something like that, but as you're presenting it tonight, I don't think it fits in a public assemblage permit. And I do think that the hope would be that you would probably sell some of them, or they should be in a museum. You know, or if it was simply something that's visual, that's not for sale, that's a different kind of item. Hopefully you would sell them because they're very, very good looking. So I think we've got a difficulty in here in that we don't allow that as it stands now for anybody. And if you allowed one person to do it, you would then have to say, you encourage it perhaps, that you would want another 40 people would show up saying, I have things I would like to display, and make the town sidewalk an area for sales and displays. That would take a whole different kind of ordinance, I think, for us to even look at something like that, because we don't allow it at this point, to the best of my knowledge. Am I?
But your words, not mine, the sales, you're adding that in. You're saying sales would be generated.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Have you ever sold any?
I have sold my doors, but rarely. I don't sell that many of these. And I have a thing which I'm trying to accomplish, which is establish myself as a folk artist here in Vermont. And for you to say that I am simply on the streets to sell denies me the chance to exhibit my work. So I want to exhibit my work. I am not asking to sell, and to deny me because I want to sell. If you don't allow me to be on this street, then never allow another artist, musical or an artist who creates something, to have an exhibition. And you've just about made it so that you might as well throw away this whole exhibition thing, because you won't have any exhibitions. Nothing physical can be displayed because it may be sold. And I just think these are your words that I'm going to be out there selling. I think I can
I think I didn't say that. I think what I said is that the likelihood is that your display would result perhaps in a sale coming down. I didn't say you're out to sell it. But I think that, the normal thing is that if you have something on display, you could display on a website. If what you want to do is introduce yourself as a folk artist, and I do believe you are one, by the way, and I compliment you on it, I just think that there are many ways to display your artwork, exclusive of selling.
Can
I
I ask,
have difficulty with that argument.
Well, let me just.
Okay.
Did Laura, did you?
No, wait.
Okay.
I have a question. Is the Folk Life Center willing to have you display on their just on their property?
I'd have to crush all their flowers and stuff. It's all flower beds.
So why not just display in their area?
Crush their flower beds?
Well, how many doors are you talking about?
Well,
Are you just having this, this is one door.
No,
You
I
could be in
usually-
that area with 1 or 2 doors and not crush their flower beds. So I hear your argument, but if.
0. There's no room to lay foot in their flower beds. It is not designed for that.
Okay. So why are you trying to be in that space then?
It's 16 feet wide.
So you're trying to associate yourself with that building?
They are kind enough to understand that I am somebody who is putting in special effort to let people know that I exist
Okay.
as an artist. And there's very few artists put in the energy and the time and the sacrifice that I do, willing to be on a street 16 feet, a sidewalk 16 foot wide, and the most I've ever taken up of it was 10 feet out from the thing in one spot by the bike rack, leaving plenty of room for the bikes.
Okay. And you can't display inside? There can't be a feature of your artwork as well?
Why does that have anything to do with the exhibition permit? I'm not asking them for that.
Well, you're asking for a public assemblage permit, not an exhibition permit. And that's usually associated with people coming together.
It says exhibition right there.
Okay,
It's a nuisance on the street.
okay.
If you read it, would you like me to read this for you? Have you read this? Because, listen, I have some experience with this stuff.
What I'm
The
thinking.
law, I would like the law followed.
But you were part of a larger group. You weren't part of an individual. So, you were here for Arts Walk, correct? I'm trying to listen to what you're saying. I'm done.
I'm listening completely.
I'm done.
No,
Thank
I
you.
want to hear this argument
No.
where a person is not the same as a corporation, where it says here.
I didn't say that. I'm asking you a question, and I'm okay. I've asked my questions. Thank you.
What is I didn't understand the question. Why can't I be in their flower bed? Why can't I be in their gallery space? Why can't I be in here? If you're offering space, you're going to ask them for space.
Let me see if there's some, did
I'm
you have
done.
any other comments?
Well, you know, I wouldn't want to be the public official who would have to make a decision on this request, because it seems to me there's an awful lot of vagueness in the law, and I have absolute sympathy and with Kathleen and her office and in this issue. I think the point is, I guess, what you're asking is to use public space to display your art. That's right, and there is a provision for allowing. Obviously, if the Folk Life Arts Center said, "Look, we're going to transform our place in front of behind the fence into a space for showing art," then you wouldn't have to come to us. That's right, isn't it? Okay, and I guess I'm concerned that we don't confuse the issue of whether you sell your art. I mean, you go into an art gallery and you see a painting and it has a price under it, and there's nothing wrong with that. It seems to me that artists have to support themselves. It's a way of living, and I see nothing wrong with the fact that you might eventually sell it. Now, I could see the town saying, but we don't want you to sell it on the street. That would be I guess the question really is, the precedent is Arts Walk, and the Arts Walk was a group that enabled artists to show their work at certain times, and I suppose in public places. And I would feel much easier if you had come here with a group of artists and said, we would like to, Arts Walk is gone, we would like to institute something like this again. And I guess I would find absolutely no problem in saying, yes, let's work it out, at the times, the places, and so on and so forth. So it isn't a nuisance that's really going to get into people's way. And yes, it will bring people here and they'll look at the art. I have great admiration for your work. I have no problem calling that art. I mean, it is. You're an artist. And every door is different, and I enjoy looking at them. And but I guess the question is, couldn't you sort of step back and maybe consider doing this with others and organizing some street artists of Middlebury, and then periodically having various shows? I think it would enrich the town. Yeah.
I'm broke, I can't do that. I don't have the time or the ability or the connections to do that. That is the kind of thing that there is money that gets given to this town for art. You have a college here which can bring people together. I can only control myself and should not be asked to draw others into what I want to do. I am allowed by this, and I hope the law is followed. I am to be treated the same as the Arts Walk was, because I am the same thing. And I've seen towns not follow the law just because of their own prejudices and biases. And if you're going to turn me down because of your own biases against art being exhibited on the street, and you're afraid it might be sold elsewhere, or you're afraid that I'm a person and not a huge chamber of commerce or a large, you're going to hold me to a different, you're going to shun me and be biased against me because I'm the little soul artist. We only, in Middlebury, respect a large group of artists who come in with power and money. And I got nothing against people with money either. That's no problem. I like people with money. But you're basically saying we respect organized art. We don't respect folk art that comes from organic, from the ground up.
That isn't the point. The point is that when you have a group, you can regulate it. When you know that there's going to be certain events, that's what the Arts Walk was. I don't think it was a group of fat cats, with great influence. It was just public people who wanted to have the life of art on the community. It's not a matter of denigrating your work. I think your work is a very high quality, and it doesn't bother me in the least if you sell a door. I hope you sell a lot of them, and it simply seems to me that the town is in a position where it's difficult. We have a staff, but it's difficult to do it on then the town manager or someone in her office has to become a manager of art displays, and I think that's really placing a burden on them that I don't think we could do, and I'm saying that I'm not asking you to just to. You know local artists.
No.
You don't. Well,
No.
Laura
I can't
has
afford to
something
be in
she'd like to
galleries.
say. Laura?
Right, so I'm just looking at the language of the public assemblage permit, and the language assemblage, usually connotes that there's a group, and so you're an individual, so I'm wrestling with it too.
It says person.
I don't see it either. We're not looking
I
at
don't-
the same document.
maybe we're not looking-
1500, Town of Middlebury, an ordinance for the regulation of public assemblages.
We're not looking at the
Okay,
ordinance,
then
that's why.
we're just looking at the permit.
No, go right to the law. Listen, each one of you, I have the right to have an exhibition on this street.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Don, I'm gonna close this subject right now, because I think we've heard a lot of people's thoughts, and we certainly wanted to hear your thoughts. I maybe am gonna defer, to do it for an individual, which we've never done before. You don't need to point it out to me, it's a little insulting. We need to, it's potentially precedent setting, and I think we would like to have an interpretation of the intent of the law from our council, and then we'll get together and consult and provide guidance back to you. But I don't think we're prepared to make a decision tonight, and I'm not going to ask them to weigh in on a decision until we've actually had council review it. But we do appreciate you coming here tonight. Love your doors. Would love one at my camp, but there is a difference between selling on the street, because that would be more vending, versus an art display. So that's part of the concern about selling. But I would like to have council provide us an interpretation first.
I really agree with that. I would like time to study it too, because I think all of us want to look at the ordinance and get an opinion on it. Okay, and I think that needs a discussion.
May I know by this Friday? That's when I've asked for this Friday. And I believe if you read the law, there is some details there. I don't believe it works in my favor. But if you guys had read the law, it actually discusses that.
You've asked for several dates, right? 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5,
One is this
6,
Friday, and I
7,
really,
8.
really would love to
8
be
dates.
there.
I-
I don't know what Ben's timing is, but we'll certainly see if he can review it for us in that time frame. That's the subject of a lawyer.
Yeah, and I asked him that he bases it in law.
Okay, Mr. Gould. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's his, he'll give us the interpretation of the law, and that's what we're looking for.
And
Okay.
please don't let it say, we're not gonna let you there because you're gonna be selling stuff on the street. Application says I won't, and I won't. So,
Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is the Infrastructure Committee, and Susan's going to lead us through meetings of May 12th and 19th, and Dan has joined us here.
Okay. First thing was the Infrastructure Committee are sending you our supported roles and goals for 2016. So hopefully you've seen those in your packet. We're looking at basically that we oversee the development, management, maintenance of all town and utility infrastructure, facilities and equipment, including but not limited to town-owned buildings, highway, sidewalk networks, water and wastewater infrastructure, stormwater management systems, flood hazard mitigation projects and infrastructure, and vehicle fleets. And we review capital budgets and equipment acquisition requests and prepare recommendations on capital budgets and equipment purchases to the Select Board. Then we listed a whole bunch of goals, which I'm not going to go into. But hoping that the Select Board would approve our roles and committee goals for 2016. Not sure if people had questions?
I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about the ordinance.
It's okay. That's why I read it out for a little bit, give everybody a little bit of time to reacclimate.
Just to get back.
Deep breathe.
I thought your goals were, and role was excellent, by the way.
Really happy with them, yeah.
I thought they were really good, and I thought you're well ahead of our committee, at least my committee, than I'm on, so it's great that you have them in already.
It was kind of a great way to start. You know, we have a new name, we have some new stuff going on, but to sort of solidify it for everybody. So I am hoping to make a motion to approve the statement of the roles of Infrastructure Committee and goals for 2016.
So moved.
Yay.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just letting it.
Any comments on them?
Nicely done.
It's
Yeah.
good, though. It's nice to start beginning to establish that kind of formal process with our committees.
Yeah.
I like that.
It feels good. It feels like we're letting everybody else know who we are and for ourselves, and if we ever get off into the weeds, we have something that we can come back to. And I think that's always helpful.
We didn't get off in the weeds.
Hey, hey.
Okay.
Be shocking.
If there are no other comments, then we have a motion and a second to approve the committee's, Infrastructure Committee's roles and goals for 2016. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
So next up is talking about the water meter replacement program. Did you want me to give an outline, Dan, or did you want to?
Why don't you go ahead and I'll
Okay.
fill in if you need
Kathleen,
help.
well, staff, I shouldn't say Kathleen, staff, I'm sure everybody put in stuff, put a presentation that's in your packets Basically, the water meters that were installed back in 2001, they require a handheld device to read, but our devices have failed, and actually we borrowed an additional device, and that has failed as well. The devices are obsolete, no longer available, and the batteries installed in the meter transponders themselves are also at the end of their life. So without these meter reading devices, we're already in a situation where you would have to go out and read them each by hand at this point, wouldn't you? Is that even possible?
Well, anything's possible, but you'd have to do that or go back to sending cards out that people could fill in,
Right.
or you can electronically estimate them.
So we have about 1,575 meters that are not readable at this time. We have about 552 meters that have a new transponders on them, and they are going to stay put the way they are. What we're talking about tonight is the ones that we're not able to read at this time. And so there's a time crunch on it. The infrastructure committee certainly realized that we're not through reviewing all the capital budget information for the water and sewer departments, but we wanted to take a look at this tonight and get the board's approval going forward, because we need to do something. What we're looking at is a cell service reader. Instead of a radio reader, it's a cell service reader.
Sure. You want me to jump in on that?
Now would be a great
Okay.
time.
All right. Okay.
Like, work with me, Dan, work with me.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'll try to cut it short without making this
Yep.
too terribly long. So the new technology that Badger Meter has they're called cell endpoints. It's a little canister that's attached to your meter head with a wire. It sends the meter readings to basically the cloud. And then Beacon is the trade name for their software, for the billing software, for the reading software, which would talk to NEMRIC, our billing software. And so the readings are transmitted daily to the cloud, and then Jackie or Patty, whoever needs access to that, can, in this case for billing, it would be Jackie, would access those meter readings through the cloud and use that for generating the billings. That technology's been out about 14 months. So as Susan said, we have about 550.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Sorry. Just to clarify, that it eliminates the need for somebody to drive around if that wasn't clear.
Which is
Sorry.
how the radios work right now.
Yeah.
You have to sort of
Somebody
get
has
in
to
the
drive
area.
around with the handheld meter,
Right.
and it eliminates that need.
Right. So the technology, just to go back a little bit, the technology that we've been using is radio read on. It's called Trace radio read with a handheld, like a walkie-talkie size unit. The Orions are a laptop in a vehicle which you drive around, and it picks them up based on GPS positions. Those 550 will continue to be read in that fashion. But Susan referenced the 1,500 plus meters would be changed over to the cell endpoints. So those would be called in to the cloud, and then we would access that information to create the bills.
So what we're looking to do in order to fund that, we're proposing to do an internal borrowing of the funds that were remaining from the construction of the wastewater treatment facility back in 2000. So it would be spread out over, we'd be borrowing from ourselves, but we would be paying it back over a 7-year period. And each year using money that was coming in from the water and sewer bills that came in, split evenly between water and sewer, proportionately, excuse me, not evenly, proportionately for how many water accounts are being read and how many sewer accounts are being read, to then pay back that fund. And Jackie's worked out the numbers. Basically, it comes down to that the capital costs. Did you want to get into the minutia, or do you want me to?
You're on a roll. I will help out. Go ahead.
Okay, so you can see what's the impact on user rates. You can see what it would be between the water fund and the sewer fund, but right below that, everybody wants to know, what does it mean for me? So the water fund on the capital costs, you would see a difference of $3.56 on the water fund and a difference of $3.60 for the sewer. Is that what it is?
Yes.
So in the little form that's right below that, if you just have the minimum rate for on water, there would be a $3.56 charge. That wouldn't be based on your usage, it would just be a flat rate for the minimum. For the sewer minimum, it would be $3.60. If you have both water and sewer, you would see a difference of $7.16 quarterly. So you'd have to times those numbers by 4, and that's what the impact would be on a yearly rate. And then this is what would be paying back in. It would cover the fees, it would cover many things. That would be the different costs that are coming up for the computer and the software, including. And am I missing
So
something?
Could even, you'll have real-time data too, right? So might detect breaks quicker. Or like, I can remember one out on, when I was on Public Works Committee, that had been going for several months and somebody got a several $1,000 water bill.
So one of the benefits of the cell endpoint technology and cloud-based is that here at Jackie's computer or Public Works, we would get alarms for any resident's meter or business's meter that showed excessive usage or a period of non-usage. So in other words, a leak detection. They also have a temperature sensor, so if the temperature at the meter drops below 39 degrees, that can send an alarm. Some people leave their houses for weeks, or whatever over the winter. They can have access to their own record, so it's called Ion Water, and you can have that set up through Badger Meter at no cost, and you can get your daily reads, or if you want it daily, quarterly, or monthly, weekly, whatever, you can get that. And so if you're going away, you could basically keep an eye on your house water-wise, if you decide to do that. Some of the businesses, I'm sure, would be interested in it because they can use it for getting their daily usage. We have breweries in town and other manufacturing entities that I would, and the college, I think would be really interested in getting their daily usage and tracking if there's any water loss, and so on and so forth. That's a separate benefit of having the cellular meter, because the meter readings are transmitted daily. So it could be huge for some people.
That's what Ryan Amelia was saying. For as a landlord, that would be really good for him to dial into Badger and directly be able to see what his buildings are going through and be able to regulate them. So if you want that kind of instant feedback, this is the way to do it.
Comes right on an app to your smartphone if you want it.
Yeah. Dan, what's the lifespan of the unit? Any idea?
Yeah, they're marketing it as at least 10 years, maybe 15. I mean, the batteries it hasn't been out that long, so they're kind of prorating, extrapolating. It's probably a better word to say.
And that's why we chose the 7-year payback period.
And Diane, I think I understood correctly, though, that you have to replace, if something goes wrong, you replace the entire unit, right? You can't just replace part of it.
In the future, if the endpoint is, it looks like a canister about that big around and about that tall with a wire that goes to the meter head. If that unit battery fails, then you can detach it and plug a new one in. Those units are potted. In other words, they are sealed from atmosphere, so there's no conductivity with moisture issues and so on and so forth. So, but if it does fail in the future, you can replace just that section, that piece.
So you don't need to change the whole meter head in again.
Correct.
Okay.
Go ahead, Heather, because you.
Can I just say one concern that I raised was the fact that there would be 575 existing customers who would not receive the new technology, and how would we handle requests for the new technology when they had a working meter? So we discussed the need for establishing a policy for that, which we haven't done yet, but we discussed it. And then on the same, along the same lines, there are also people that request no technology in their homes, and having a policy to address that also would become part of this. But again, we wanted to get it before the select board and if possible, get it approved and moved on it, because we anticipate about a year's time to replace all of them. And in that time, any that can't be read, it's an estimation process. So the quicker we can move on this, the better.
We're currently guessing
Yeah.
on those. And I think that's
Not
a good.
very equitable.
Yeah, and I guess guessing 3 times, but then hopefully the 4th time being able to go out and get a reading, or getting a reading from the customer, you said. So, I don't know.
Right, I mean, so as soon as we start replacing, some people may have 1/4 of an estimation, and by the time you get to the end, there are some places that may have 4 quarters.
Right.
Right, so
Right.
as you go along, some will have 1, 2, 3, or 4, hopefully.
But Heather brought up a good point. It's to have a clear policy of people who may want to opt in and what that would look like. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. If they do, what would it look like? And if they want to opt out, again, what would that look like? Yes, no, and what are their options? And so it's consistent for whoever is looking at things. People may want the new meters, and I was pointing out that a couple weeks ago, the other now old meters were the new meters to have. So it's all perspective. They were the new ones that we were installing, and they were great, and now all of a sudden, if these come through, they will be the old meters. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if people had questions.
Well,
Yep, looks like it.
I can understand the need. I see that it's going to cost us something, but that the value we have is more accurate readings, and I'm just trying to think of myself as a resident, whether that's something I'm willing to pay for, probably. Like you've presented in the charts, it's not significantly higher per quarter, so annually probably affordable. And I'm glad that you have some policies to look at.
Right.
I see it equivalent to smart meters for electric, where you have that capacity to read in real time and see what you're using. I'm wondering if people might be shocked because they're going to suddenly see an accurate reading where maybe their estimate was underreported before. Like, I don't know how, or would it more likely be the other way around?
There'll probably be a catch-up, yeah.
Assume it's an average of a period of time, the estimates.
That's what, yeah. Jackie would estimate, like, if it's
There
the
are some
first
people
quarter,
on the
she would go
roof
back
of the building
and look
across the
at
street.
first quarters and use those as averages.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's some rubbernecking going on. Did you get your question answered?
Well, I'm just making a comment. I
Comment,
think.
okay.
It would also be important to note that the rates have not changed since 2009.
Really?
Yeah, and we're not
They
done. There may be some more things that we have to come back. So we're not. This is not the final.
Well,
capital.
the rates may not have changed, but wasn't there a decision to charge a minimum that was after that?
In 2009, apparently.
That was 2009? Oh,
Yeah.
jeez, okay.
So that's what we're being very careful to say we're not quite done with our recommendations on the funding of what the changes would be yet.
At the minimum, we would see this.
Right.
Would you like a motion for the way it's stated?
Please.
Yeah.
Okay. I would move to approve the water meter reading technology project as outlined in the staff's May 19th, 2016 presentation to the Infrastructure Committee, with the understanding that the project will be financed by intra-fund borrowing over a 7-year period to be paid for by an increase in the minimum fee charged to water and sewer users.
I would love to second that.
Moved by Donna, seconded by Susan. Are there any other comments or questions before we vote? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
It's well presented.
Okay. So we're back to the trailer and loader.
Okay.
All reviewed, everyone's happy, looks good.
Yes, so just to recap, we had two bidders on the trailer for the highway department. G-Stone and Lucky's Trailer submitted bids. G-Stone's bid was the lowest at $5,907.30. They allowed a $2,500 trade for our old deck trailer. So requesting the board to purchase the trailer from G-Stone Commercial for that amount.
I think you all remember we talked about this before, but we asked to have it send it back because we had time. We couldn't purchase it until the 1st of July, and so we asked it to go back to, because it had not come from the infrastructure committee. So are there any questions beyond what we had talked about before? If not, would solicit a motion.
Go for it.
Sure. I'll make a motion that we approve Dan Warner's recommendation to award the contract for the purchase of a trailer for the Public Works Department to low bidder G-Stone Commercial Division, for $5,907.30.
Second.
Is it Monday?
I've been thinking that
So
all day.
moved by Heather, seconded by Victor. Any other questions before we vote? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, Dan,
Tiffany, did you?
the loader.
Loader. We requested bids from the various vendors in Vermont area for a new loader for the highway department. Milton Cat, Woods, CRW, and Nortrax submitted bids. Nortrax was the low bidder at $93,676 even. They submitted a bid for a 2016 John Deere 520 4K loader. John Deere also has a wonderful municipal discount program, so that's why you see a significant difference between their bid and the other two bidders. One of the benefits of the John Deere loader is that it has a monitoring system called JD Link, and basically that loader will talk via cell phone information transmitted to the dealer, so the mechanic at the service department can be clued in if there's any maintenance issues with that loader as it's out in the field or in our shop, and our mechanic can be both on the phone at the same time. So in other words, their head mechanic and our mechanic can see things at the same time in real time. This due to the wonderful warm weather we had, this loader was leased but almost not used for I guess it was going to be cleaning Costco's parking lots, and pretty much sat all winter and never got used. So it still comes with it has 140 some hours on it.
47 is what it.
40. Yeah. New warranty, 7-year, 5,000 hour warranty. So it is basically as sold as is a new machine and warranted. So.
Good deal.
So requesting the board to approve $93,676 from Nortrax.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Victor.
We should probably mention the amount for the bucket loader is $93,676.
You said that, though. on
Yes.
site.
Did you say that already?
Didn't say bucket loader, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So moved by Laura, seconded by Victor, clarified by Susan.
Dang, damn it.
Any other questions? it's nice of them to hold that for us, because I would imagine since we started working on this, they would have liked to have sold that.
Right. Well, they knew up front it wasn't, nothing could happen until after July 1, so, but they are antsy to hear about it, so.
Telematics is the way of the future. That's a great system.
Yes.
All right, if there are no other questions, all those in favor of the motion to support the Public Works Department purchase a bucket loader from Nortrax for $93,676 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, Dan?
The next, are you going to go to the tennis courts first, or do you want to talk about project updates?
I'd like to do tennis courts first.
Okay.
Just knock that out.
Do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, I was
I'm
like,
not
you're still
well-
looking at me.
I'm not
Okay.
well versed on that one. It's not-
Okay, so Terry came to the committee and asked if we could shift funds that were earmarked, capital improvement funds that were earmarked for the pool house improvements, to cover a gap in available funding for resurfacing the 4 tennis courts. She was talking, basically, it's been very difficult to get companies to come out just to resurface 2 of the tennis courts. They really want to, in order to get a good price or to get the company, you need all 4 courts, and they all need to be done. So it's one of those situations where, what are we going to do? And Terry pointed out that funds for the pool house roof, they just had the pool house re-roofed for significantly less than what it was thought. So she was asking us to sort of shift a bunch of that money that would have been earmarked for the roof over to helping out with the tennis courts, and so we did. So if we look at what she said, the pool house and pool building project, the capital budget was $3,400. Paid $12,692 to re-roof the building, leaving a surplus of $20,000 approximately. And so hoping to make the shortfall for the resurfacing of the tennis courts, while still leaving $9,543 in the pool house fund for continual capital improvement projects. And I think what we stipulated was making sure that we're looking at all the funds properly, especially for the tennis courts moving forward, now that we know this, making sure we're saving the proper money in the future to get them resurfaced on a regular basis, and Terry was all over that. So the committee was for it. Let me make sure I've got the right wordage. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the reallocation of $11,164.14 in the capital improvement funds that were earmarked for the pool house improvements to fund the resurfacing of the 4 tennis courts at Rec Park.
Second.
Okay.
Seconded by Donna. Are there any other questions? All those in support of the motion as made by Susan signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Now project updates, Dan.
Kathleen has signed the contract for with Pike to do the recycling paving of Painter Road. Tentatively, end of June is when they would get there to do that. So that project starts at Munger Street and comes back towards town about 4,300 feet or so. Creek Road reconstruction project, last week the state completed their review of the stormwater permit amendment and has put it out for a 30-day public notice. The engineer and I spoke a couple of days ago, and they are going to put an addendum out to get the bids out and back in early June, so you'll have it for the June 14th board meeting, and hopefully to be approved if the bids come out competitively. My understanding from speaking with Chris from Du Bois and King that the market is still very competitive for bidders, so hopefully that still holds
Still
true.
is?
Yeah. They're seeing a lot of bidders and good pricing still. So hopefully that holds for us. We're going to talk a little bit later about Weybridge Street sanitary replacement, but another item is tomorrow morning I have a meeting with engineers for a pre-proposal for engineering companies to bid on the services to design a culvert underneath Helpin Road, which is just, this culvert crossing is just north of Painter Road. Near your old neighborhood there, that little dip in the road. That's where that's at. So I'm having that tomorrow morning. The Creek Road gravel portion study is progressing. They were out yesterday to get in there and get in the river and paddle about and see what the banks look like. So
We'll hear back in August, will be the final report.
that's the hot spots.
Okay. Any questions, Dan, on that?
Not on that. I know that we've gotten notice that the painting is going to be happening tomorrow
Tomorrow night and Thursday night.
and Thursday, and
Main Street, Merchants Row area, this part is going to be closed off for painting after 10 o'clock until 6 a.m. And then Thursday night will be Court Street, Court Square to get that done. Try to get it done before the parade, weather holds.
Nice.
Does
Make
that-
it look pretty.
Exactly.
and that does that include the sharrows?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
but not sidewalk stencils.
correct.
Do we have an ETA on the sidewalk stencils?
No.
Can we get one?
Sure.
Okay, that would be great.
Yep.
The other thing that I want to bring to the Infrastructure Committee and Dan, which we've talked about a bit, are the rapid flashing beacon lights. And just to clarify the funding and the timing for when those happen, because we did receive funding from Downtown Improvement for 2 of those, I thought. So I thought that would mean that we would need to make the purchases within this fiscal year? Is that correct?
That is a ongoing reserve fund, so
Okay,
it
so do-
isn't linked particularly to a fiscal year.
All right, well, anyway, the hope is that we would have them in place and operating by the beginning of the school year.
Okay.
So I just want to not lose track of it, and whatever is needed to move that along, I'd like to help do that. Do I need to come to the committee, or do you?
No, I think that's something that's
Staff.
in Dan's
Okay,
I was going to say,
jurisdiction as a staff
guide
person.
those.
okay, okay,
Since we have the money, just get started.
Sure.
okay,
I guess it's
okay.
a function of clearing up where they're going to go exactly, so we need to.
I thought we had,
I think
well,
that
we'll talk.
if,
Okay.
who decided where they were going to go again?
Well, we
voted on it.
voted
voted
on
on
it.
it, okay.
So there was supposed to be one at the Middlebury Inn, at that troublesome
Mhm.
crossing there, Dan,
Right.
and then the other one was at Cross
Okay,
Street,
sure.
right here by the high school.
South Pleasant, at South Pleasant, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was the second one.
Got it.
Those are the 2 spots.
Okay,
So I'll just send requests for pricing from the 2 vendors,
sounds great.
and we'll have it in June then.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah,
Laura.
I was warned, and you probably know that they're not all equal, and that you want to make sure that the rapid flashing beacon light can be seen from both sides, and sometimes they aren't.
Maybe when you get it together, run it by Laura, make sure we're getting the right one.
Yeah.
And you know all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because she's got it down.
Well, yeah, Dan knows.
So who
He has
does,
it too.
who does the installation of those? Is that something we have to put out to bid of?
No, we would do it.
Oh, you guys could do it?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're basically radio controlled. So there's a unit that goes on each signpost, like the 2-inch square signpost we
okay.
have,
Okay.
and a push
So
button
this
screws
isn't
to
something
that.
installed and it's on the signposts?
Yeah, it goes
Oh,
on the
okay.
signpost.
Right on the existing
So we
crosswalk
could
signs.
maybe look at numbers for our next
Yeah.
infrastructure committee meeting, if that works. Okay. Thank you, Laura.
So Dan, I believe we have at least another issue for you, the contract for construction of the Weybridge sanitary sewer replacement project.
Sure. We received 2 bids for doing this sanitary replacement project out on Weybridge Street. There's a little over 400 feet of sanitary sewer that needs to be replaced. We had some TVing of the sewer line last fall, and it has some pieces missing in it, or from it, I should say. This is also one of the big leakers, if you will, that's in the Pump Station 9 collection system that was identified with that EPA agreement about overflows. So we kind of got a little bit of a heads up on this one, and so we got a project ready and out to bid. So we had two bidders that submitted, Champlain Construction and Engineers Construction. Champlain Construction was the low bidder at $153,778.54. You also have in your package a letter of recommendation from Green Mountain Engineering, who did the design work and will be doing the construction review for the project. So I'm requesting the board approve Champlain's bid of $153,778.54.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Heather, seconded by Donna. Any other questions of Dan on this? Comments on it?
I'll just add the project will be about 4 weeks, and depending when the contractor starts, most likely July-ish. Sort of.
That's when we all take our vacations and get out of town.
Yeah.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Anything else, Dan?
I think that is it.
Yes. Okay, thank you very
Great.
much.
Thank
Got a lot
you.
of business done tonight.
Yes, thanks.
I'll keep you busy until you get your help.
Yeah, plenty to do.
It's just kind of split, like an amoeba, and
Yeah,
half of you take one thing and the other half of you take the other half.
sure.
Have you figured out the office arrangements, what's gonna make the most sense yet, or you kind of been thinking with that?
A little bit, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Thanks, Dan.
So, Jim, becoming a regular. I think this is, I got this feeling it's gonna be a regular date for us.
Just for 2 or 3 years. I won't take much of your time tonight, but I wanted to bring you up to date on, bring you current with a couple of topics I think will be of interest to the Select Board. And the first is the Water Quality Forum that the local project management team will be hosting here in Middlebury. This will take place on Wednesday, June 8th at 6 p.m. Venue to be determined. Venues are hard to come by this time of year, but we may end up holding it in this room here. But the purpose of the Water Quality Forum is to have VTrans, VHB, our engineering design firm, and the Department of Environmental Conservation come to Middlebury and to share with the local project management team and with the community, with concerned citizens, their plans for managing stormwater runoff, both during construction and post-construction once everything's operational, and the logistics of the drainage system, which we've talked about before, and how the drainage system will handle a hazmat event. And so I attended a meeting yesterday with VTrans, VHB, and DEC in a planning session, and they will forward to the local project management team within the next few days their plan for that meeting, so we'll have an opportunity to review it, and then they will come to Middlebury on June 8th. The intent is not to come with a final plan, this is what we're going to do. The intent is to come with, this is what our intention is. This is what we think would be best practice for Middlebury in terms of stormwater management, and then how hazardous event might be handled in the rail corridor. I think we've made some progress there. I think the pressure or the push from the community and from the local project management team has caused them to rethink, particularly the drainage system. And at the meeting yesterday, they were talking about what kind of technology might be available to cap the outfall into Otter Creek in the event of a hazardous waste. They talked about a technology I wasn't familiar with called stop logs, which could be stored to the side of the outfall, and in the event of a hazardous event, under lock and key, it's opened up, it's put in place, and it essentially caps any movement of fluid through the microtunnel and prevents flow out into Otter Creek. I think it's early stages yet in terms of their thinking about the best solution here, but the fact that they are thinking about the solution and we're still several months off of physical construction of the drainage system is a good thing. So that this will be their chance to present here, and it's not going to be so much of a dog and pony show as a here's what our plan is, and then open it up for comments and questions from the community. I think it'll be really a positive thing for the community. I think it'll be a positive thing for VTrans, VHB, and DEC to hear as well. So any questions about that? No, when we get a venue, I'll let you know what that is, and I think it'll be an interesting evening. Item number 2 concerns the agreement between the town and VTrans. It kind of spells out who's doing what. And I mentioned at our last meeting that the local project management team had recommended to VTrans that be the agreement as is kind of be scrapped and rewritten to reflect the current reality of project management responsibilities. The grant agreement that was signed in 2013 was signed with the intent that the town would manage the entire project with oversight from VTrans. The reality today is that VTrans is managing the construction details of the project with the town weighing in on certain issues with right of approval. So VTrans has agreed that it needs to be rewritten. The local project management team has submitted draft language to VTrans for their review. I met with them yesterday, and they are generally in agreement with what the local project management team has spelled out as its key roles and responsibilities, what the checks and balances will be here in town to ensure that project designs, project schedulings all work to the favor of the town. They've laid out their chief concerns there. So, Benj Putnam had a chance to look at it as well before it went to VTrans. We've got some level of legal counsel review there, which is good. There's undoubtedly going to be some negotiation. Once the legal counsel for VTrans gets involved, they're certainly going to be protecting their best interests. We'll be doing the same on our end. But I think this is a positive step toward clarifying who's accountable for what, who's liable for what, and how is the town going to influence the project in the right way? What kind of sign-offs will we have? So it'll probably take a few weeks to kind of get to a final there, but I wanted to let you know that that's underway, and I think the net benefit to the town will be a positive one of a rewritten agreement. So, any comments or questions about that?
Kathleen, what's the process, the procedure on that after the LPMT goes through that? Does that come back to the select board?
We would get together in the local project management team. We would look at the recommendations that come back. We would sort of discuss what we thought about them, and then we would make a recommendation to the select board from that committee.
Okay.
And Jim summed it up really well. What they're looking at right now is just terrific because it's about accountability, liability, and influencing the project. So that sums it up pretty nicely, I think.
Yeah, so I think we're on the right track here. This and that leads me actually to my third and final update, which is the Langrock letter, and it was really the Langrock letter that kind of got the local project management team thinking more deeply about accountability and liability, and so that was a positive. And the update on the Langrock correspondence, let's call it, simply that VTrans and VHB have been great in pulling together all kinds of documentation that was requested in the letter. If you'll recall the letter, this was round 2. There were 18 questions in which provide more documentation. You haven't provided this, you haven't provided that, and all that was fair. And so our partners have been working with us to supply the documentation. Our response, our full response with all the documentation is ready for me to present to the LPMT at our May 31st meeting, which is our next meeting. And so we've learned some things in the process about insurance and other kind of standard specs from VTrans. And I think that information is being passed on and shared with the community in a positive way. So again, all to the good here. And I think we're kind of managing through that request and that part of the process. So those are the three things: the water quality forum, new agreement between the town and V-Trans, and kind of the ongoing sharing of documentation on the project.
Any questions of Jim?
No, meanwhile, we get to have the festival on the green again for this summer, the week of July 11th.
And why not, right?
We can.
That's a good thing. So I should mention in closing, I got to see Laura dressed up as a banana at the Sustainability Expo on Saturday. Was that?
It's always fun to watch her in the banana suit.
One of the pleasures of my job is doing all these different information sessions.
It was such a nice day that we didn't get a lot of attendance, but we were glad that you were there.
I was happy
we
to be
did
there.
let people know that they had the opportunity to get updated. It's always good to have you available.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's great. Even if people don't show up there, they got to get to know me and know they can ask me a question on the street. And some of my best conversations are on the street or in the coffee shop or somewhere else. So that's a good thing, I think, for me in terms of learning more about what the community's interests are, and also just getting the information out there too. So.
Speaking of which, Jim, why don't you tell us about your office hours?
Oh, right, yes.
Office hours?
I have office hours now. Yeah, no office, but I have office hours. So. I'll be the guy out in the street in front of the Vermont Folklife, handling our story.
See me about a permit.
Yes, that without a permit. Yes, actually there is, as you probably know, there's a swing office upstairs. And so I have office hours now on Wednesday from 8:30 to noon-ish. And so please put the word out. If anybody has questions about the project, or if you were in the neighborhood and want to stop by and, catch up on the latest, every Wednesday, 8:30 to noon, and right upstairs here. And we'll be getting the word out more about that. And also along those lines, we're going to put together a little information kiosk in the building here about the project. And VHB, when they come to town for the Water Quality Forum, will bring an interactive, a role plan, that shows the full, like you did for town office and Cross Street Bridge, and just showing here's what everything looks like in a very easy to comprehend visual way. So that'll be good too. So come see me in my office hours. I'll be happy to help you with any of your problems and solve them all. Okay. All right, anything else?
Any other questions, Jim? Jim, thank you
Thanks.
for
Okay.
keeping us up to date, and thank you for your willingness to put in the extra time.
Oh, sure,
I know
absolutely.
we're working you more than you would have anticipated, but
Well, every day brings progress and
Yeah.
a little more knowledge our way, so that's a good thing, so.
yeah, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Okay.
Kathleen, you want to run through the change
I
order?
will. So we finally have the proposed change order for the flag pole. We're out in front of the town offices here. $3,550 for the flagpole and related hardware, and $1,620 for the installation. We have already installed the flagpole sleeve, ready, waiting for a flagpole. This will be covered by donations, which are in hand.
Would you like a motion?
I would love a motion.
All right, so I move that we approve the change order for the purchase and installation of the flagpole in our plaza in front of our new town offices for a total of $5,535, which we know will be covered by donations.
Okay.
I'll second.
Moved by Laura, seconded by Susan. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I had a quick question, though. What size flag are we gonna fly?
It's either we can either do a 4x6 or a 5x7. It's.
I have a vote, it'd be the 5x7, more visible.
We are talking about feet and not inches, right? Sorry, the photographer in me, when I hear 4x6 and 5x7, I think of, yeah, sorry.
On top of it.
All I could think about was a picture.
Okay, and I'll give you a little update on the planning for the demolition of the municipal buildings at 94 Main Street. We are planning to meet with the apparent low bidder on Friday and to ask some follow-up questions about the bid. and we'll be coming forward with with a recommendation for you at your next meeting.
Okay.
And also on that note, as you know, the hazardous materials abatement is going to be getting underway soon, next Tuesday, actually. And the eastern half of the Academy Street lot near the gym and the parking lot across from Salma's will be closed, as they'll be used for staging areas for those projects. So we have 2 contractors, 2 staging areas.
Next week.
Next week.
The parking lot across from Summers, you're talking about where, like, the town office
Right.
personnel used to park?
Right.
Okay. Consensus principles on solar siting.
So, the consensus principles that you had in your packet last time were complete, just improperly numbered. We had missed some numbers, added some numbers, but the 6 numbers the 6 have been, are as presented previously and have been renumbered for your consideration.
Okay.
Are there
Think
any
we
questions
accept
on them? We kind of went through them last time. We were
Yeah.
just, we had to verify that because they did seem incomplete because there was 2 numbers that were skipped. So unless there are any other questions, we might be able to move direct to the motion.
I'd like to make the motion to affirm the Planning Commission's statement of consensus principles regarding solar siting in the town of Middlebury.
Second.
Moved by Susan, seconded by Laura. Are there any other comments? I think we were very happy with what they came out with, and we felt that they were suitably workable and but provided some town guidance and control, and that we would develop a plan moving forward that would provide additional guidance to future development, right?
They were good.
Any other comments on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Is this your week, Laura, for the check warrants?
It is. So I reviewed the checks. They are in good order. So our total expenditures came to $947,000 and $947,354.36. And our accounts payable was $860,873.18. And our payroll was $86,481.18. So we're in good order. And I move that we accept the warrant report.
Second?
Seconded by Donna. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Kathleen?
So the ladder truck subcommittee met yesterday, and I don't know, Laura, if you want to lead off on reporting on that, or Chief Shaw?
Would you like to come forward, since you have waited patiently for this moment?
He was waiting patiently, and also helped improve public safety in the downtown by shushing some partiers off the top of a 4-story building. That was what
you were doing?
Yes, they,
You did it so nice and quietly. I thought it was just really
they
good.
graduate, some college students graduate this weekend, and that was on their bucket list. So I said, to guarantee that you graduate this weekend, please come off the roof. So, and if you have another party on the roof, don't do it on a night. We have a meeting across the street. So they've been fully informed, and I think
Wise words.
they're a good guy. Good group of people.
Speaking of reaching roofs.
Right, reaching a roof brings us right into, absolutely. So yes, we have a ladder truck issue, and we anticipated actually some ladder truck issues. 3 years ago, we formed a committee within the department to replace the aerial based on a 20-year schedule that was set up 22 years ago, and a 2-cent fund was established, and that fund has bought every piece of equipment in the department now except for the ladder truck. And with that moving forward, the committee started again 2 years ago, met with 7 different vendors, narrowed that field down to 3, got prices on a replacement truck for the department. We came to the manager. The manager set up a subcommittee to talk to the group, talk to the group leader, Myron Selleck, my assistant chief, and myself, and suggested that we look at refurbishment, and sent us away with that task. And we did that task. It took about 6 months to have that analysis done. Those figures are back. Ironically, the following week, we used this truck in Bristol at a training exercise, and we had a catastrophic failure of the waterway, which provides water from the ground to the tip of the ladder. That problem lost all functions of the ladder. So we had a ladder up over a burning house with no function, no ability to move it out of the way, get it out of the heat. Virgins was there. They provided protection for our piece of equipment. We called a repair facility. They assisted us getting the ladder back down into the bed. That waterway, that swivel that was defective, controls the water, the hydraulics, and the electrical system, all run through this key component. Of course, when water and electricity mix, it's not a real great conductor, or it actually is a great conductor, but they don't get along well. Now the truck is dried out, we're able to raise the ladder and move the ladder, so that function works. The water to the end of the ladder does not work, and that will not work unless we either replace the part or replace the truck. In talking to the repair facility again yesterday, they have told us that that particular part has been contaminated with tap water, and that the minerals in tap water will corrode the stators that are in there that send that communication from one end of the device to the other. We probably will see some type of degradation in that type of service 7 to 8 months of usage. So with that said, we're looking for some help and what direction we should go with this project. And so we had an emergency meeting. We met with the manager and Brian and Nick on the phone and Laura, and brought everybody kind of up to where we are today. And that's kind of where we are today. So thank you for your time. I know this wasn't on your agenda, but this has been an ongoing project for 3 years. It isn't just something that happened last Saturday.
So that's the status, and it was going to cost about $35,000.
Yeah, it's about $41,000, and then we get some credit for a part, but we've got to get the apparatus over there and back. So it's a.
But Chief Shaw didn't think that was worth it, given what we know about.
Yeah, this piece of equipment, there's a glut of these on the market, and so it's worth about, in fine working order, it would be worth about $70,000. So if we're going to put $40,000 into a $70,000 piece of equipment, I'm not an economist, but it doesn't seem like a good deal for me or for the taxpayer. And so our suggestion would be to set up a temporary waterway on the aerial, use it as an emergency piece of equipment for life safety only until we could such time replace that piece of equipment. We're currently looking for the hose and the tip to go on the end of the ladder, which I thought would be more readily available, but I guess, Brian, since 1960, they don't carry much of those in stock anymore. So. But there is Craigslist, so we're scouring to find the pieces of equipment to set up a temporary if we could do that.
So fortunately, a lot of the buildings at the college that are the taller buildings or other taller buildings do have sprinkler systems, but it's not complete a solution. And at least we have a ladder that can reach the roofs of those buildings if we had to do some safety. So at least we have that.
Yep.
And meanwhile, we're looking at, do we, replace it? Oh, you're saying rebuild doesn't make sense to you because of the value?
Well, the repair, the rebuild cost was much higher than we had anticipated.
Like about $500?
Yeah, about $500,000 on a piece of equipment that we originally paid $365,000 for, that we can replace for between $800,000 and $850,000, with an expected lifespan of 25 years. The products are made better today than they were 25 years ago. Believe it or not, that piece of equipment will be 25 years old next year, or at the end of this year.
Right. So the other thing we did was consider if it was important to the college to get the repair done, and they, I don't know, if we're still waiting for some feedback.
Well, at this point, they're feeling it, if the aerial works for life-saving, that they're not in, that they're okay with it. You know, they don't feel that it's threatening anything. We have a shared use agreement with Virgins for their 75-foot ladder. And so, you know, frankly, we need to work through this in just more of a heads up, because now we need to engage our process of procurement and having budgeting discussions, and then engage the board with a recommendation. So we asked Chief Shaw to be here just to bring the board up to date with where the ladder truck sits and its function. Probably a number of people may have heard about it. And we do have a town college lunch. We will talk about this, will be on the agenda to discuss with the college as well. And I guess we'll have to start when Nick gets back at putting everything together. You've been working on it for years.
Fair enough,
we worked at this.
Yeah.
This will come through the infrastructure committee.
Yep, so just letting you know it's coming.
How long does it take between ordering it and getting it? Isn't
Super.
it a really long time
It is. It's
period?
about a year process.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
So on that note, I am concerned that we will not have use of that ladder in 7 to 8 months because of the contamination in the swivel, and we will not have the ability even for life-saving with that ladder, and it potentially in 7 to 8 months.
Right.
Possibly sooner, possibly later.
Right.
And if we were to order a truck right now, we wouldn't even see it for a year.
That's correct.
So it seems to me that we should be putting this at the top of appropriate committees' project lists.
It's on your committee's project. It's coming.
Okay.
This just happened this week.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is developing, but we felt the board ought to know, and it was
Right.
something we have to
Just wanna-
undertake
Right, bring everybody up, right.
a little bit with a little bit more sense of urgency than we had about 2 weeks ago.
It must feel good to have put all that work in so far, to have it this far along, though, of your searching and things like that.
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed feeling thing. We were frustrated when we had to go back and do it, but, you know, we were frustrated when we built the fire station about 500 times, and that was great frustration because the end result was great, and then when the people in the committee get frustrated, I remind them of that task, you know, hey, we were a decade doing that, and look at the results. And so if we're off another 90 days or whatever it is to make the result a positive one, then we can go through the process.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Originally, they went out looking for a new truck. And when we got the dollar figures back, we were sticker shocked. And we said, well, what can we rebuild this one for? And we had to find somebody who could give us a good inspection to what the status of ours was, so that we could get quotes on, which was not easy. And to get quotes on a full refurbishment of this truck, and we had estimated, based upon what people had told us and whatnot, that it might be able to be done for about $300,000. In the end, our bids are coming back just shy of $500,000, and it puts a different light on the refurbishment, because you still have a truck that's going to have some issues with no warranty. So, but it needs to go through your committee.
Yeah.
And you know, we can check that off now as a question that's been answered.
He can lay it all out.
Right.
Got all this
And
stuff.
we'll give you that full, just 2 complete reports that you'll get.
I think it's,
Be very detailed oriented. Perfect.
totally get this sense of urgency.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, guys.
Nice
Have a good evening.
Chief Shaw. Good night. So the next college town, this is yours.
Next town college lunch is tentatively scheduled for Monday, June 13th.
Like tentative, what's the, are we just waiting on Should I put that on my, it's on my calendar.
You put it
right?
on your calendar.
Yeah.
We're just
Okay.
waiting for a final confirmation from the college.
Okay.
They will be hosting.
Can I ask who the third rotating member is for this meeting? Has that been determined?
That has not been determined. Why don't I get with Kathleen and send out an email so we can, I don't know who's been, and, I mean, I've only been to the last one, so I kind of like to look at who's
I
on.
was just,
No.
I was just asking if they had.
Okay,
Good-
I
good
can
question.
get you a list of who's been at one point.
Okay.
I think we all
I think we all have,
enjoy
except
going,
for
so.
Heather would be new.
So everybody's in
Or
that
Victor.
category of like.
Victor in the old
I'll get some
rotation.
straws and you.
Yeah, I think Heather's the short one at this point, so.
No, that's, I'm not.
No, I'm
That was
just,
not my reason for asking.
I
was
know.
just curious if it had
I'm
been
just saying.
decided.
But maybe it's, I don't know if it's worth talking about, you know, like, just so that we don't have to invent this every time, does it automatically go through a certain rotation so we don't have to think about it? Or does it depend on what you're discussing?
We talked about this before, and actually, I think you were the one who brought it up, and we decided that we would try to rotate as much as possible, but if there was something on the agenda that one board member was maybe on the committee or more
Right.
informed on it or something, that it would be appropriate, and in some cases, it may be the same person 2 consecutive meetings if that agenda item, so that they could carry it through to the discussion. I think that was our intention. And I think it's probably appropriate that if there's something on the agenda that's in somebody's wheelhouse, they're the chair of the committee or the project person on it or something, that they would be the person who would be invited to that particular one. Is there, we're developing the agenda now, so kind of a month out. We'll have another board meeting. too.
No, next meeting is
No.
June 14th.
yep, the day after.
We don't meet till June 14th. Time flies. Okay.
So what I'll do, Brian, is I'll get you a list of who attended which college lunches in the last couple of years.
And have we got a draft agenda for it yet?
Not yet.
I didn't think so.
I'll
Yeah.
circulate that as well.
Okay.
Okay, moving on, just to note that you, on your next June 14th meeting, you will have a request from Hope to transfer ownership and management of 290 Route 7 or North Pleasant Street property to the Counseling Services of Addison County, the Counseling Service of Addison County, who has been operating the facility for several years now. Then you'll hear more about that. Jean Montross from Hope will be here to answer any questions you may have. And then I'll add that we have advertised for the position of Director of Public Works Operations, and applications are beginning to come in.
Good.
So stay tuned there. And then finally, I'd ask the board to designate Chris English as acting town manager June 7th through 10, as I will be attending my son's graduation from Army basic training during that period.
So moved. Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? What a proud moment, Mom.
Yeah, congratulations.
That's going to be quite a trip for you.
We are not driving for a change.
Ooh, for a
Oh,
change,
really?
not taken, all right.
Okay, board member concerns. Susan?
I put in our packet, at our select board, our last, I don't even know what it was called. Our strategic planning, there we go. I had talked about, a survey that I had seen, done by Public Assets Institute. So I put it in there talking about migration in the state of Vermont. And the question was, are young people leaving Vermont And so if you have a chance, take a look at the survey. It's interesting. Yes, they're leaving, but they're also moving into Vermont in almost the same numbers. So it says, about 96% of Vermonters are staying put, and about 4% are moving in and out. So it sort of changed the way I look at things. Conventional wisdom, they said that Vermont is losing people it wants to keep. In fact, young people are not abandoning the state, and higher earners are staying in or moving to Vermont, which was interesting because it seemed to be higher incomes are moving in and lower incomes moving out. I kind of supplemented that by looking at Addison County, and we're one of the few counties that are experiencing a slight increase in our population, and in those younger age groups. So sort of shifting my thinking of, instead of being afraid of people moving in and out, sort of embracing that that's the migratory age. And so how can we support that? How can we sort of look at ourselves? Do we have to hold them here, or can we just market ourselves as a great place to stay for a while for that age group to pick up skills, money, experience, and when they are ready to settle, we'll think of us again. And that's what's happening, is that they're sort of moving around until they decide to settle. But the same age groups are sort of coming in and out. So, I don't know, just take a look. On that same note, I had an article that I saw in the Free Press that Shelburne government started supporting having young people on their committees, which I thought was interesting. They were having student voices welcome in discussions across Shelburne's boards and committees. 2 students can be non-voting members of each group with a full right to speak. And so they were having high school, college-age kids in there. Mostly high school is what they were encouraging. And so they were on the Planning Commission, they were on the DRB, and each student position was 1-year term, but the members can serve again on the same committee or move to a different one. And I thought it was fascinating. And then the one young man, when he turned 18, actually ran and got on the DRB, which I think is a really good way, again, to sort of take those young people and say, how are we including you in our government? How are we including you in our town? And I just thought it might be kind of a fun way to experiment with the local high school and see some of the governmental students might want to take some positions. Non-voting, but they can ask all kinds of questions and participate. So I didn't get this put in the packet, but I can certainly send it to Kathleen and have it put in there. And I'd really like us to think about that, of like, how can we engage that age in a different way? And certainly maybe we could talk to Joe Colangelo and find out how they put that together, or what their rules and regulations were.
Okay. Heather?
I don't have anything.
Victor?
No?
Can you hear better tonight?
Yeah. No. It depends how softly people talk, but when they're at a distance, no.
I meant more the overhead noise. Now, it did shut off halfway through the meeting, but it was going earlier in the meeting. And I'm curious, they did some work with the ductwork, and did anybody notice a difference?
I am not under one, so I had an easier time listening tonight. That when I sat over there, it was a lot harder.
I had a harder time hearing tonight, which was interesting to me, and it had nothing to do with the ductwork and something to do with your laptop, which seemed to be humming at certain points. But when you plugged it in...
It burned up battery tonight. That was running out of battery. I don't know what was going on with my laptop.
That's what I kept hearing, so I could not hear Susan.
Oh, no.
I had a harder time.
We need little
Better get it
signs.
diagnosed.
Too many things going on in it.
So it was hard to discern, but now it's perfect. I can hear.
Yeah, and see, I can hear everybody tonight really well.
Done?
Oh, wait, I didn't finish.
Oh, I didn't go to you yet.
Okay, are you
I was
going this way?
coming back the other way.
Okay.
yes.
Did you do yours?
But you can go.
That's okay. No,
Oh, it was your
you-
turn.
Well,
You were talking about ductwork.
I didn't know
going
Victor
from
was
the end-
finished.
I was
I
going
know.
from the ends in, but
Okay.
Laura, please.
I was going to say something about sound, that was it, that was one thing. And I was going to say something about young people, which is that they do like to get their information online, and our website is really important, and it's a really valuable resource, and I am just always curious about our status with how we're doing with our own website future, and I know it's in progress.
Interestingly, we're looking forward to presenting a proposal to the Select Board for a new platform at your next meeting.
Which I'm not going to make, unfortunately, so that's, but I'm glad that it's happening, so that's.
You wouldn't want us to hold that up? for
Not
you.
at all,
Okay.
not at all, no. And then finally, I just wanted to say that there's going to be a time for viewing recovered and abandoned bikes from the Middlebury Police Department next week, June 1st, from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock at Mary Hogan School, where we're bringing the bikes for display. And that you'll need to bring some proof of ownership if you think it's your bike, or something that, qualifies that it's your bike. And then if the bikes aren't claimed, we're going to make them available for sale or raffle them off. Or if there's a needy family, we'd consider that, some kind of raffle to give away some of those bikes. So I just wanted the public to be aware of that, that would be happening next week on June 1st at Mary Hogan. And there's a safety fair that was rescheduled from May to that day as well, so it'll be coupled with that event at Mary Hogan School. That's it.
You are? No?
I wanted to note that we did have I think, a letter from the Better Middlebury Partnership. For some reason, I've now lost where it is. But apparently, they really did have a great year. I think that really benefits this community tremendously in terms of the events that were held, and, in particular, everybody, it was in today's packet, so hopefully you had a chance to glance at it. But it's certainly important to the town, and when you speak about young people being involved, they worked very hard to get younger people involved in that organization. And my only other comment was that Monday, the Memorial Day Parade here in Middlebury begins at 9 o'clock, and it's certainly a wonderful event. And we have a good weather prediction for it, so hopefully a lot of people will turn out. That's it.
Okay. Well, my computer did finally stop. Like it felt like it was going to self-destruct. It was chewing battery.
We have a lot of humming, buzzing issues. Someone else said they heard someone else's computer earlier. Oh, Heather, that was you.
Mine does tends to make noise because the fan is going, I guess.
I apologize for letting the meeting run a half an hour late tonight, but I don't have anything. And so, look for a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Moved and seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?